Welcome back, everybody, to this week's edition of the PGA DFS Pick Show. I am your host, John McNutt. I can be found on socials at JohnCole19, here for Fantasy Sports Insight, talking DraftKings daily fantasy golf for this week's Honda Classic. Really fun week last week watching Jon Rahm and Max Homa battle it out over the weekend. I was certainly rooting for Max Homa. He came up a little bit short, but really, Jon Rahm is just unbeatable right now. But let's discuss the Honda Classic. There is no Jon Rahm this week. The field is quite weak. A couple stars up at the top, but really this field is absolutely lacking because of the big events the last few weeks, and next week another elevated event as well for the PGA Tour. So this event kind of stuck in the middle, but still good for DFS. A lot of golfers that are unknown. I think that may give us a little bit of an edge. This is PGA National playing in Palm Beach Gardens, Florida. The course is a par 70, about 7,100 yards, so a bit on the shorter side here. Bermuda grass greens, and this is a Jack Nicklaus and Fazio design. So if you want to include kind of looking at some comp courses, some Jack Nicklaus comp courses, one thing that we know about PGA National is this is a very, very difficult course. There is water on tons and tons of holes, and absolutely golfers will end up in the water over and over this week. You will see a lot of big numbers out there. So I'm kind of putting bogey avoidance into my modeling as well as double bogey avoidance, just trying to look for golfers who avoid the big error as much as possible. This course is famous for what's known as the bear trap. That's numbers 15 through 17. Very, very difficult stretch of holes. In all likelihood, golfers will put at least one ball in the water over those three during the 4 days this weekend. So really exciting golf. Very, very difficult course, like I said. Looking at some of the stats, I'm certainly looking at distance this week versus drive accuracy. Need golfers to not end up in the water, but really the rough not nearly as penal as it has been maybe in previous years or some of the other events. Rough, not so bad, but certainly drive distance is helpful on this course versus the accuracy there. There are only two par fives, so we took that out of the modeling this week, inserted things such as scoring on difficult or how golfers play on very difficult scoring tracks. Ball striking is my number one stat. Certainly, again, looking for golfers not putting the ball in the water, finding themselves fairways and greens. I included greens in regulation as well. But scrambling is kind of a big one this week. The course tends to be very difficult to hit the fairway, hit the green here. Again, big numbers. So I am including that scrambling here this week as one of my key stats. And then par four scoring. If you look at the par threes here, really, there's not much to be had as far as a bunch of birdie opportunities. The playing field is pretty level there, but the par four scoring much more elevated this week without a couple of the par fives. So I included that in the modeling, as well as Bermuda grass putting. And then if you want to look at proximity, 150 to 200 yards, kind of that range is kind of where a lot of additional shots will be coming in this week versus tour average. So that is what I built my modeling around this week. Well, let's talk about some of the golfers I really like for DraftKings. Top two guys for me this week as far as favorites. Sungjae Im, he is going to be super, super popular on DraftKings. He is the highest priced golfer at 10,700. He's a 10-1 outright to win. Certainly he has won here before, and he could win again this week, especially in a field that is as weak as this field is. I do like Sungjae Im quite a bit, although you will have to pay a hefty price when it comes to ownership, as well as the 10,700. He's usually quite a bit cheaper than that, maybe in the 9K range. But yeah, a lot to like for Sungjae this week. Last week, he only finished 56th. He kind of faded off on the weekend. Not so great. Prior to that, he had back-to-back top 10 finishes, though. And he has only missed the cut in one out of his last 10 cut events. As I mentioned before, he won on this course in 2020, right before COVID hit. He has made the cut here 3 out of 4 attempts. He did miss the cut last year, actually burned a lot of people on DraftKings, and he was 8th back in 2021. So good course history. Not many guys have better course history than that. This course, even the guys who win here, they typically have had a missed cut here previous to their win. It is very, very common. I think experience helps a lot more than just having played here, having played very well here. But this course, with all of the water, all of the sand, you're absolutely going to expect chaos up and down the pricing here on DraftKings. So just because someone's a favorite, that doesn't mean they're a lock to make the cut. Sungjae Im last year very proves that fact very easily. Putting on Bermuda, that is his best surface as far as greens go. And then the stat model absolutely loves Sungjae this week. He comes in number 3 ball striking, number 1 tee to green, number 2 on approach, and also 4th in bogey avoidance, all of those over the last 36 rounds of golf. So a lot of love for Sungjae this week. Another golfer not going to be quite as popular, a little bit lower in the pricing. That's Aaron Wise at 9,200 on DraftKings. 20-1 outright. I think that's a fair number. Maybe a top 5 would be a good bet here for Aaron Wise this week. Looking at the pricing, he is priced as the 8th highest golfer on DraftKings. If you look at DraftKings Sportsbook, he has the 3rd best odds to win. I think that gets you some value right away at the 9,200 price on DraftKings here for DFS. The form is not great. He missed his last, he has a miscut his last 2 events. But if you look kind of back a little bit farther, he has 4 top 25s previous to those missed cuts. Pretty good course history, although just like Sungjae, he did miss the cut last year. He finished 33rd, 35th, and 13th in the 3 previous starts before that at the Honda Classic. Bermuda, again, just like Sungjae, is his best putting surface. And Aaron Wise, what we know him for is being excellent on difficult scoring courses. In my modeling, he ranks number 1 in that. The stats also, he's number 2 in scrambling, number 3 bogey avoidance. He's also very good tee to green. I don't think Aaron Wise is going to get quite as much ownership. I think just because of the lack of known golfers in this field, a lot of people are going to gravitate to Sungjae Im, Lowry, maybe even playing both, and then kind of drop down in the pricing a bit. So Aaron Wise, maybe he goes overlooked a little bit. We'll see, but I like him a lot as an option on DraftKings this week. If you're wanting to jam in a couple of the stars, certainly looking for some value. For me, Will Gordon pops out the most at 7,500 on DraftKings. He is a 50-1 outright bet to win. Looking at the pricing here, he's priced 31st as far as golfers in this field on DraftKings, but he has the 18th best odds to win. Again, I think that's some automatic value at his 7,500 price tag. He miscut his last 2 events. Both of those were in January, but he made 8 cuts prior to that. He did finish, he's only played this course once, finished 36th back in 2021, so at least familiar with it. I think the layover here for Will Gordon having a handful of weeks off while everyone else was in California playing some difficult courses as well. Hopefully that'll help giving him a little bit of a break. He is top 20 in this field when it comes to scoring on difficult courses. And his last 36 rounds, he's 6th ball striking, 7th tee to green, 11th in drive distance, and 4th greens in regulation. So I think he's an excellent option. I will likely be jamming him into my cash lineups. But really kind of looking at the pricing, this 7K range, it is absolutely full of value. There's a lot of guys that I like here. Just to name a few, Ben Griffin, Ben On, Hardy, Bramlett, and Charlie Hoffman, even a pretty nice price for him. But a lot of guys in the 7K price range. I think you can put a bunch of them in your lineup this week, and I will be including a lot of those guys in my player pool as well. A couple guys to talk about here that are going to be lower owned that might give you some leverage over the field at their price, starting with Minwoo Lee pictured here. Minwoo Lee is not a golfer that very many people are familiar with. Yes, he did play in the Masters last year, but he's been playing almost exclusively DP World Tour, a couple other events worldwide. He's not been playing on the PGA Tour, and I think that gives you quite a bit of ownership leverage right off the bat because people are just not familiar with him. And then they're going to see he's priced at 9,400 and they're going to be scared off. So looking at projected ownership, I'm showing him maybe around 10% right now. I think he could end up just below that. But if you look at his worldwide starts, he was finished top 13 in each of his last starts. He's got a couple top 3s as well, playing really, really good on the DP World Tour right now. So give me some Minwoo Lee, lower ownership than everyone else that's priced over 9K on DraftKings. I think he gives you a great option to really gain leverage on the field there at the high end. Kind of at the lower end here, I mentioned him before, but Nick Hardy, he sticks out to me at about 10% ownership. I'm thinking he'll come in just a little below that. He's lower in the ownership projections than Buckley, Bramlett, Gordon, Ben On. All those guys certainly are going to garner some more ownership than Nick Hardy. But looking at the modeling, he ranks ninth in ball striking, fifth in that bogey avoidance, and number one greens in regulation over the last 36 rounds. I think Hardy has a great chance to make the cut and make a push here for a top 10 this week. So I like him a lot in DraftKings, especially if everyone else is flocking to those others in the 7K range, the mid 7Ks. I think Nick Hardy gives you some leverage there. So a really good pivot option. So that is it for the picks. Just to go over one and done, last week I did pick Max Homa. He had a very good week as far as dollars go. Second place bumped me to 750th place in the one and done powered by Fantasy National Golf Club. This is the Pat Mayo Open. Looking to crack into the money this week. Had Max Homa won, I would have slipped inside that top. I think it's 600 or 650 makes the money this year. I was just inside that when Homa was leading, finished just outside it. But 2 weeks ago, I was in about 4,000th place. So back-to-back top threes for me. I will take it and keep moving on. I'm going to go Chris Kirk, I believe, this week. I've been kind of back and forth on a few guys. I think everyone's going to play Sung J M that has him left. Maybe a few people will go with Lowry. But I think that Chris Kirk gives me maybe a little bit less ownership versus the others. He certainly has the upside to win here. He's played well on this course previously. I think his price is pretty steep on DraftKings, but at the same time, I think his ownership comes down on the one and done contest. So chalk me up for Chris Kirk this week, one and done competition. So I appreciate you watching this video. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them below. Also, don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel. If you want to join me in the Discord, I'll be sharing core plays, weather updates. This course tends to be swirling winds, so we could see that change over the next couple days on the predicted weather. And also discussing showdown slates and projected ownership all through the weekend. Best way to get into the Discord is through our Twitter handle at FSI_DFS. You can also go to the website fsidfs.com. Both places get you into the Discord. So certainly join there, and good luck this week.